I hope you enjoyed our first session. Welcome back. सबैजनालाई म स्वागत गर्न चाहन्छु back to PhonePe Digital Economy Conclave powered by NCell. अब लागौँ हाम्रो दोस्रो session तर्फ, which is very, very interesting, and we are naming it Payment. The race is on. With the rise of contactless and digital payments on the wake of COVID-19 pandemic, the payment platforms now are in serious competition, as we can see. This session will bring together representatives of international as well as regional payment platforms that have made major changes in the digital payment system and will hold discussions basically when it comes to payment platforms as well as about the competition and the journey overall. So without further ado, let's get started. I'd like to invite the moderator for this session, our second session, founder of 54i Ventures, Dipta Shah. Thank you very much for your time, sir. We also have with us Head of Card Center, Nepal Investment Bank Limited, Reena Chand. Thank you for your time, ma'am. As well as all the way from Mumbai, India, joining us over Zoom, we have with us Senior Director, Business Development, South Asia for Visa, Soumya Basu. As well as we have with us CEO of NPCI International Payments Limited, joining us from Mumbai, India itself, over Zoom, Ritesh Shukla.
Thank you.
Off to you, Dipta sir.
Thank you very much, Sanjay, and a very good morning to all of our viewers across Nepal and the Nepali diaspora across the globe. My name is Dipta Shah, and I'm honored and delighted to welcome a panel of accomplished individuals to PhonePe's Digital Economy Conclave. From Nepal Investment Bank, I'm joined by Mrs. Reena Chand in the studio, and we are joined virtually by Mr. Soumya Basu from Visa International, and by Mr. Ritesh Shukla from the National Payments Corporation of India. First, on behalf of this panel and our viewership, a heartfelt word of gratitude to the organizers, the sponsors, and to the amazing team at PhonePe who continue to dazzle this ecosystem with their innovation DNA, resilience, and mission in support of a less cash economy. PhonePe's revolution, so to speak, will be digitized, and we encourage PhonePe and all payment ecosystem stakeholders in Nepal to continue fighting the good fight, enabling access to finance and expanding digital financial services to millions of unserved and underserved people across every corner of this great country. Our topic of discussion today is aptly titled Payments. The race is on. And over the course of the next hour, we will sprint through a range of perspectives on the past, present, and future course of Nepal's digital payment landscape. But before we dive in, some context. This conclave is extremely relevant as a timely reminder of the days when COVID-19 will be relegated to a tragedy in the collective rear view, but also as a beacon of hope around the possibilities that the pandemic-fueled digitization has created, specifically by accelerating digital adoption and in turn, enhancing Nepal's ability to meaningfully participate in the global digital economy. As my friends and colleagues in the development sector often say, in the aftermath of COVID, the quickest path to rapid and resilient recovery for emerging markets and developing economies is along a digital superhighway. That superhighway will be paved by the digital payment platform. I, for one, am a firm believer in this paradigm. In an ironic twist of fate, COVID has simplified policy priorities to a point where Nepal's accelerated transition to a digital economy is now a non-negotiable imperative. It's no longer a choice. To this end, the presence of a robust digital payment landscape is a mission-critical component in any digital economy. It is on top of the physical infrastructure, a digital ID scheme, and a secure, well-developed and interoperable payments layer that digital businesses everywhere are built, and how these businesses thrive. Nepal will not be an exception to this trend. So with these thoughts in mind, I'd like to move to a round of introductions, starting with Mrs. Reena Chand, who's a veteran in Nepal's payment landscape. Please, Reena, if you would tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and the institution which you represent.
Sure, thank you, Dipta. I would also like to thank PhonePe and NCell for inviting me onto this digital economic conclave and the session, The Race is On for Payments. I am Reena, and I am working with Nepal Investment Bank for the last 15 years with its card center. When I say card center, it is not only the bank's card department. We are also operating a payment system network. The payment system network, which is the first of its kind in Nepal. This was introduced in 2005, and we call it National Payment Network. Today we have 17 A-class commercial banks and other BFIs operating on this network.
Thank you, Mrs. Chand, for that wonderful background on yourself. Over to you now, Soumya. A few words about yourself and your role within Visa, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for having me here. It's great to be here with all of you and at this forum, which is very pertinent for, I think, today's day and age. My name is Shomo Basu. I'm working with Visa for the last 5 years as the head of business development and markets for Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. I've been fortunate to interact closely with our clients, partners, and stakeholders in the markets, and worked very closely with a few of you here and others who are viewing it, I believe, in Nepal. So I've had total experience of more than 15 years in various industries with multinational organizations, and very pleased to be here again, like I said. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Soumya. And last but not least, Ritesh, please would you introduce yourself and the organization that you represent?
Good morning, guys. I'm delighted to be here, and today I'm representing NPCI, National Payment Corporation of India. I am the chief executive for NPCI International. It's a company that has been recently formed to take some of our indigenous best-in-class solutions to international markets. And I'm really delighted and consider myself lucky to be here and speak with you all on this platform.
And we're delighted to have you with us, Ritesh. So now switching gears a little bit, I'd like to set some historical context on, develop some retrospective on the current state of the payment landscape in Nepal. And to this end, I'm going to switch to Mrs. Reena Chand, because among the four of us represented on this panel, you have the most amount of experience in the payment landscape in Nepal, both in terms of the breadth and the depth of your experience. So could you please walk us through maybe two of the top 2 or 3 megatrends and the drivers that have shaped over the years the digital payment landscape in Nepal?
I feel honored when you say I am the veteran amongst four of you. When we talk about the history of card payments in Nepal, I would like to touch upon those times. This is in 1997, when at Himalayan Bank we used to give out, the POS machines were bulky imprinters. So we used to go to the potential merchants to deploy those terminals, and there was nothing digital on that. It was totally manual. And the first acquiring business that started in Nepal was by Alpine Card Services way back in 1988. So they were doing just the acquiring side of the card business then, which was catering to the tourists coming into Nepal with different brands of cards. For Alpine, they were the merchant membership they got was from Chase Bank in Singapore. So they were not even a principal member or acquiring partner of Visa or MasterCard directly. So they were acquiring on behalf of that overseas bank in Singapore. Those days, everything was manual. Today, when I look back and I feel everything is digital today, those days we were giving out to the merchants something called a hot bulletin, which was listed of about all the fraud cards across the globe, and the merchants were supposed to go through the hot bulletin to make sure that they were not acquiring one of those cards. Imagine that in these times. Today it's as simple as you insert the card or you tap and take the payment. So yes, things have evolved a lot. And in this industry, everything is evolving with technology. We see new products coming in say 6 months. So today we have seen in the industry, in the card industry, that the cards have come from a Max Strip card to a chip card, to a contactless card. Today we are talking about virtual cards. So yes, the Nepal card payment industry has evolved with time and with demand of the market. It may be slow, and like you have aptly said, the race is on.
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting perspective. We're starting right back from the days, I'm guessing, the mid 90s all the way until today. Quite a different, quite a vast change, I must add. And it does sound like, from your perspective, that we're headed in the right direction. So, Soumya, amongst all the international players that have been in the market, you represent the institution that has been here longest and have the most experience in this market. So, my question to you is, in terms of your observations of this ecosystem, its maturity, and if I may say, its persistently low rate of penetration when it comes to card services, what's kept you guys around? And can you please provide some color on why a brand like Visa has stuck with this ecosystem all these years and what you're doing in terms of partnerships going forward?
One word answer would be the growth that we see in a market like Nepal. That's very short answer, but I'd first like to thank Reena for that dose of nostalgia. So if I look back, I think we entered somewhere around, like you said, late 90s, and it's been more than 20 years that we've been in Nepal pioneering. Like Reena was mentioning, the zip zap machines to start with. That's what they were called, those bulky merchant POS terminals. And working with our partners in leading Nepal's transition through the various phases, either be it in terms of Maxstripe cards, then followed by EMV, then we are talking about e-commerce and contactless cards, and most recently QR payments. So we've been through that, and we have been very fortunate to have partners and clients. Today, I think there are about 50 clients and partners that we have in Nepal who work with us, issuing or acquiring Visa cards and supporting the Visa's payment infrastructure in various ways. So it definitely wouldn't have been possible without the support and the strong partnerships of these clients and partners. And let's not forget the crucial role and the able leadership of the Nepal Rashtra Bank and other key industry stakeholders who have been really, really helpful in forming or shaping the payment ecosystem in Nepal. So in short, I would say that today we feel very proud that we enable millions of Nepali cardholders to transact securely, conveniently, and confidently across millions of merchant locations, both online and offline, in more than 200 countries across the world. So that's some good achievement, and I take pride in that, in working for an organization which has kind of hung in there, partnered with various institutions, and we continue to innovate and grow the market in Nepal. So that's, I think, the way I look at it. But again, like, there's still lots to be done. Let's not forget. Obviously, COVID has given, if I can use the word, like a booster shot in terms of digitization. And we really feel that, yes, the trends that we are seeing will continue. These are not seasonal. These are more secular in nature. And people, the way they have adopted digital payments, I think that's here to stay. So there's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And if we really believe that the digital economy of Nepal has to grow, all the stakeholders have to play a very critical role in helping the ecosystem grow.
Thank you very much, Soumya. That was a wonderful retrospective on your view of how this ecosystem has evolved. Ritesh, over to you now. And you bring a different nuanced perspective to this discussion, right? Because you're at that stage in your journey when you're just considering entering the Nepali market, okay? So in a sense, for Nepal, NPCI is, quote unquote, going to be the new kid on the block. However, NPCI and the India stack in particular is anything but a new kid on the block when it comes to the global arena. Many debates have happened in forums where people have advocated for a wholesale adoption of the India stack and the NPCI's role within that stack to leverage how you've basically done digitization in your own country. Can you maybe tell our viewership a little bit about the India stack, how it works, conceptually what the elements are, and of course, what is NPCI's critical role in that stack concept?
So thank you for the question. It's a great question, and I think it allows me to kind of highlight the salient features of the platform and the work we have done. So I don't know if you're aware, but NPCI is a very young organization. We were formed in 2008 by the Indian Banking Association under the guidance of Reserve Bank of India. And since 2008, we have really built a multi-rail network. So there is cards rail, there is QR and alias-based real-time payments UPI layer, there is highway toll automation network, there are bill payments network, and we are also kind of stepping into transit one card solution wherein all Indians across the country can use that the offline module in the card to kind of ensure seamless mobility across the country. So we are, and on top of that, we are a not-for-profit company. We believe in genuine digital good of the country, and now that we have formed an international subsidiary, we truly believe in genuine digital good of the world. Now, having said that, you talked about the India stack. India stack is definitely a success story. When we started in 2017, we were processing 0.3% of Indian GDP on UPI platform, and this year we are likely to kind of process 15% of Indian GDP on UPI platform. So we are looking at a volume over $400 billion. And in the month of October, we saw 2 billion financial transactions on the platform and equal amount of non-financial transactions. Now we're building capacity to process 1 billion transactions a day. And you, as you rightly said, UPI as a platform has truly brought digital transformation in India. We have 170 million active users. And now with the opening of WhatsApp Pay on our platform, we are going to see another kind of inflection. This number will only grow. So now we are enabling the inclusion of these business kind of profiles into the ecosystem through QR. And not only QR, people can also use payments using aliases. So that's the story in India, and we are very happy with what we have delivered. And as you rightly said, we have kind of received recognition across the world, and we are happy to kind of work with Nepal and Nepal Rashtra Bank under the guidance of Reserve Bank of India in a central bank to central bank connect. We'll be happy to share the knowledge that we have gathered in our experience. We will be happy to share technology that we have built to bring in the digital good in Nepal. Finally, I also believe that the challenges faced by India and Nepal are very similar in nature. They revolve around financial inclusion, displacing cash, offering direct benefits to consumers, and then transforming payments in a very cost-effective manner by having a truly interoperable system. And I think we can work together in these areas and kind of drive transformation.
Thank you, Ritesh. That's a fascinating story, and especially I just want to capitalize on the point that you're making here. The time frame over which NPCI has been born and the way the NPCI has penetrated the market, we're talking about 3 years. So from 0.3% of your GDP to what you mentioned, what was it, 15% over a period of 3 years, that's a very powerful story, and the sort of story that I'm sure stakeholders in our ecosystem would like to see replicated in Nepal. But before I move on to the next segment, just a quick question. You mentioned you've created an international arm, a wing, so to speak, to NPCI, right? And you represent that wing, right? Can you tell our viewership maybe a little bit about what the focus of that particular entity will be?
So NPCI International, the objective is to kind of take the homegrown technologies to international markets, and our focus would be to create acceptance of the UPI and RuPay cards that we have in the Indian market. We have 170 million UPI wallet holders. We have 600 million RuPay card holders. So our kind of first step in our journey would be to create acceptance of these programs in international markets. And I mean, Nepal and India have a lot of kind of exchange of people for business as well as travel. So Nepal is an important market for us. We want to create a seamless acceptance of these solutions in Nepalese market. That's one. Then there is a lot of kind of cross-border remittances between the two countries, and we believe that UPI as a platform can be deployed to kind of support that that B2B or even P2P kind of money transfer between the people living in on both sides of the border. And then, as I said earlier, we will be happy to share technologies like UPI in a central bank to central bank arrangement with Nepal. And then we have other solutions that kind of will support your smart city development, your highway automation, your bill payments. We will be very happy to kind of work with, through a partnership between Reserve Bank of India and Nepal Rashtra Bank, and we'll be kind of drive the digital good or inclusion, as you can say, in Nepalese market.
Fantastic. That sounds really amazing. And just to kind of make it real for our viewership, so I look forward to a future in the not too distant days ahead when I can basically walk across the border to India and use my phone and never have to use cash again, and vice versa, right? So that's the sort of dream that we're looking towards accomplishing with partners like NPCI. Thank you for that, Ritesh. I want to come back to Reena and Soumya briefly. And in your comments, there's one thing that stuck out to me as you were describing your journey in this market, the importance of partnerships, right? And so I'd like to just kind of pick your brains a little bit to ask the following question, right? So Soumya, when you're entering, you've been in this market for a long time, right? You've seen the game, you've seen the evolution, you know the players. What are the things that you look out for when you're picking your partners? What are the top 3 things that drive your partner selection process?
As in the case of any partnership, I think it's the wavelength needs to match the vision that we have for the market. If we believe that, yes, the partner can deliver on that same vision, or at least is aligned to the same vision, I think that's the starting point. I mean, a very non-quantifiable aspect, but yeah, very critical, because ultimately, like I mentioned, I mean, the whole payments ecosystem is not something that one person or one entity can change and transform. It definitely requires the support and the partnership and the collaboration of multiple parties, and hence their investment and their commitment to drive that vision is equally important. So that's sort of what we look at initially. But I think what goes into it, and you have to nurture and build and grow that partnership over a period of time. And like I mentioned earlier, I mean, we've currently working with 50 banks, financial institutions, fintechs, processors, payment facilitators, all put together in Nepal. And I think we've had a fantastic, collaborative mindset where, we are trying to leverage our capabilities, drive synergies in the market, because the ultimate goal remains the same, which is how can I convert cash into digital forms of payment? How can I make digital commerce happen, whether it is in the offline space at a physical merchant location, or in the online space at any of these new e-com merchants that are coming up and growing very fast. So bottom line being that, yes, we are seeing definite shift. We are seeing a paradigm shift, if I can say, and it's here to stay. And we continue to invest. Just to give you some context, 2 years back, we set up domestic settlement in Nepal. So which basically means that all transactions which are conducted in Nepal are settled in Nepalese currency within the boundaries of Nepal. Again, that required a huge amount of collaboration and partnership with all our clients and partners in Nepal. We are a global company. We have very robust and time-proven solutions which have worked across markets. But we also understand and believe that, yes, Nepal as a market might have certain nuances, certain unique characteristics, and we are definitely keen to have those partners or those partnerships deliver on those local requirements.
Thank you so much, Soumya. And I think that's a really excellent illustration of basically the fundamentals of partnership, right? So you've highlighted for us a number of different areas where you've actually strived to create those relationships and leverage those relationships to bring change to this market. You've talked about the regulator, who without whom none of this would be possible. So kudos to the regulator from our end, and also the private sector partnerships in here. So whatever you're doing, it sounds like you're doing the right thing. So thank you for that description. Now over to you, Reena ji. question from the domestic side, right? So when the banking fraternity or the BFI fraternity in Nepal considers partnerships with international agencies, what are your top 2 or 3 areas where you focus?
On this context, I would like to share how Visa particularly has held our hands, as in the partner banks of Visa, in this long journey. In 2017, when Visa partnered with few of the issuers to roll out Visa loyalty programs in Nepal, that was a unique program where you get certain cashbacks and rewards for using card on for buying goods and services. That was something that changed the habit of the Nepalese. From ATM footfall, most of our cardholders were ATM goers. So you withdraw cash and then you do your other payments. However, such initiative from our partner like Visa helped us turn, at least my organization, our data shows that our ATM footfall changed 200% to POS users, meaning people started using the very card on POS for buying goods and services. So when we look at a partnership, we would appreciate such initiatives where it changes the entire industry habits. That would be one. And over the period, as you know, this card industry is evolving and it requires a lot of technical upgradation. Again, these partners, what we look up to them is for technical know-how. They organize seminars, they organize workshops for us in the industry to learn and grow together.
Brilliant. So the 2 takeaways I understood from that segment is that, one, you're looking for a partnership where there's co-investment. So it's not just you sign a piece of paper and then you're on your own, but just a continual relationship of touch points over time that enables co-investment and also enables relationship building, but more importantly, most important of all, enables a transfer of technology and knowledge, which ecosystems like us can really benefit from learnings from the likes of NPCI and even Visa entities who are like spread almost globally now. I'd like to switch gears a little bit. So we've talked about kind of the historical retrospective, how we got here. Now let's get into the really meaty aspect of the conversation. What are we doing going forward, right? So I'd like to take a couple of minutes now to engage with each one of you to talk about your strategy, your strategic outlook going forward, right? So just to get a sense for what are the 2 or 3 drivers that you're looking at? What are the mega trends in this economy that you're planning to capitalize on, right? And how are you positioning either your institution or maybe in Mrs. Chand's case, the BFI industry as a whole? How's that position happening, right? Can you tell us what are the 2 or 3 drivers, strategically speaking, that the BFI industry in Nepal is hoping to capitalize on going forward? And what are some concrete steps that you envision will happen over the next 3 to 6 months?
So what I feel is for the BFIs to enter in this race, the foremost thing is that we need to unbundle the entire process. And then we need to gear for digital onboarding of this, make it seamless, make it more approachable. Because when we follow the guidelines of the central bank, it may not be too practical. Say we are trying to do eKYC, but do we have the proper mechanism? How do we offer the customer to submit the eKYC? All these we need to take into consideration, and this should be our strategy going forward. We have to become less conventional.
Thank you very much. And it sounds to me like, you know, you're really discussing the nuts and bolts of the digitization process itself, right? So digitization doesn't just happen. It's not a switch that you flip and all of a sudden people join the digital revolution. It's a process of give and take, of conversation, of testing different approaches, testing the eKYC process in the example you just mentioned, tweaking it along the way, with an end goal in sight when you're actually digital. But that's a very good perspective, I think, and a insight into what's actually happening on the ground. Soumya, I want to shift over to you and ask a question that's in the similar vein, which is, what's your medium-term outlook for Nepal, right? How are you looking at your strategic positioning vis-a-vis your competition or your peer group coming into this market? And in particular, your technology options, right? What are you looking at, and what are you planning to do over the next 3 to 6 months, the medium term?
Before talking about the outlook, let's spend 30 seconds or so in explaining what are the trends that we are seeing today. So first, obviously, is that digital payments is accelerating at a rapid pace, and that's here to stay, right? Because today people have multiple options to go digital, right? Number two is there are abundance of options available in the market for people to go digital, right? So you can dip your card and pay, you can tap your card and pay, you can swipe, you can click online to make payments, you can scan a QR code to make payments, and it just goes on. So, with more and more people and more players entering the payments ecosystem, and they are disrupting the whole user experience, that's another shift, that we are seeing, and the trend that we are seeing today. Number three, the overall payments infrastructure is also modernizing. We see many countries across the world coming up with this national identity and payments somewhere kind of merging, like what Reena mentioned, say eKYC. That infrastructure has to be there first to ensure that the eKYC is properly verified and validated. So what I'm trying to say is that the government and the regulator play a very critical role in this aspect, along with all the industry stakeholders. Number four would be the payments ecosystem overall is becoming very flexible. So earlier we used to see one entity, a bank or a network, handling that entire value chain of payments. Today, it's not the case. Today, we have multiple entities playing, roles within that value chain to deliver unique customer experiences. And number five, last but not the least, is the power of data. There's a huge amount of data that is available today, right? And it's only going to get bigger and bigger. It's up to us how we leverage that data to our benefit. We analyze it and we drive innovation by that analytics, the data analytics that we have. So seeing these trends, I think, how your question was, how do we see, evolving with time and supporting this growth going forward? So I think one key thing here is there's been a shift in the way that we have also approached our vision. Today, we are saying that, okay, card is just a form factor. I want to be, as a Visa, I want to be anywhere where there is money movement. Can I play a role in that? Right? So it's much broader in scope. So here's the concept that we, internally like to believe, and also with our clients and partners. We are now a network of networks. The point that you made earlier, in the not so distant future, you believe that there will be a digital superhighway. We believe we are the players or the entity which can create that digital superhighway. I build excellent infrastructure, and I invite all players in the ecosystem, be it banks, be it fintechs, be it digital players and others, to come and ride on that highway, right? So that's where we belong, and that's where we believe, because we are, at the end of the day, the platform which supports multiple form factors. Today, it may be contactless. Tomorrow, it may be QR. Day after tomorrow, it may be something else. Once we have that robust network in place, I think we can support multiple players coming on the highway and enabling unique user experiences and delivering the promise of, making payments seamless and secure all around the world.
Fantastic. I love how you describe that, the network of networks. I think that strategically that has a really good ring to it, and it's a concept that's easy to understand. So in fact, what I understood you saying was, you don't really care about the technology. You're technology agnostic. You care about the infrastructure that you're building that enables the interoperability across different networks of players, so you become the glue. And that's the sort of strategic outlook that you see percolating in Nepal through Visa, right? Thank you very much for that, Soumya. Let's go over to Ritesh. Similar vein of question, Ritesh, right? So now you're considering your entry point into the Nepali market, okay? So work with me here. Fast forward 12 months from now. NPCI is in the market, okay? What can you tell Nepali consumers in this market? What can they expect from NPCI's entry into this market in terms of consumer surplus? What sort of benefits would they expect? And give us some pragmatic examples of what NPCI's entry into the Nepali market will mean for average Nepali consumers.
So earlier in my discussion, I talked about UPI as a platform. Now, UPI as a platform is an open stack. It's an application layer that enables kind of integration of third-party wallets like Google Pay, Amazon Pay, Phone Pay, and WhatsApp Pay and others. And also bank-led wallets. So you have these wallets that are bank and third-party led, and they can be integrated or mapped to any bank account in India, and then the transaction can happen. So it's an open technology, open stack, supporting open banking. Now, if we were to kind of replicate that in Nepal, so what it can do is, I just did some research. There are 40 million mobile phone users in Nepal, and 80% of Nepalese population lives in rural areas. So you have only 20% urbanization. So by implementing something like UPI in Nepal, you can bring all the Nepalese, whether they are in rural area, urban area, in the payment ecosystem. They can be merchant or businesses of any size. They can start accepting payments using aliases, using QR codes, and UPI can be a truly interoperable platform wherein different wallets of different players can come together, and it can actually enable commerce. It can help people in rural areas sell their products to people across the world on different parts of Nepal. So that's the kind of transformation we're looking at. As I also noticed that it's a young country. 50% or more than 50% or around 50% people are less than 24 years of age. So you have a young country, highly connected. Around 50% are still unbanked. So a solution like UPI can truly transform and unlock the value. So that's something that we can deliver in a market like Nepal.
Thank you, Ritesh. I just want to come back now to some of the points. I think we've kind of touched this subliminally. Soumya mentioned it verbally, but I want to touch upon this because I know there's a little bit of angst, and this happens typically in any ecosystem when folks are going from paper-based solutions to digitized solution bases, right? This whole concept of security. So we're going to have a lot of data that's aggregated, great. So everything people do will be digital, great, right? But when it comes to protection of that data, consumer data, and the security layers under which that data is wrapped, PCI DSS compliance, I guess, is one standard that folks absolutely require. But what sort of comfort can you give to your audience, to our audience here, and to the consumer base on both sides of the border when it comes to how you're going to safeguard that new age digital currency data, right? So Ritesh, share with us what sort of steps you take to safeguard consumer data and make sure that there's minimal fraud when it comes to transacting with your solution set.
Data is a very sensitive issue around the world. A lot of countries believe in localization of data, and India also kind of had a similar kind of I won't use the word mandate, but similar initiative, and all the, I think, global networks have also kind of started localizing data here. So we have, our platform, we can deploy it in two ways. We can have a hosted solution, or we can have the solution on cloud. A hosted solution will give 100% kind of localization of data. So we have a flexible model around that. And we have state-of-house data centers, fully kind of owned and operated by us, deploying best-in-class cutting-edge technology. We have a full-fledged in-house team that kind of looks at these cyber threats, including kind of monitoring what is happening in the dark web, and kind of taking proactive initiatives to kind of protect our data, the consumer data that we hold. But having said that, when it comes to a solution like UPI, we do something which can be kind of mapped to tokenization. So what happens is you as an individual never expose your bank account number, and talking about UPI in particular, because you are always using aliases or a QR code to transact. So we are, our platform is very secure. We have a state-of-house data center. So we are taking care of all the different angles that are required to protect the consumer data.
Thank you. That actually instills quite a bit of confidence. Over to you, Shomo. Similar question. So when Visa looks at consumer data, how do you guys basically, protect consumer data? Moreover, when you're building your partnerships in nascent markets like Nepal, what are some of the steps that you take to guarantee or try and ensure to the extent possible that the data is secured? What sort of measures do you recommend or maybe require of your partners in Nepal to make sure that malfeasance does not happen on your watch?
I think these two things, what we're talking now, data, security, and all of that, are the what I call the unglamorous parts of payments, right? It's all in the background. Nobody really sees it till the time they get affected or adversely impacted. But nevertheless, it's one of the most crucial things, I would say, because when people are getting into the digital payments fold, and in the first step that you take, if you're hit by some sort of a fraud or you hear about some sort of a fraud, you just go back 10 steps and perhaps you'll never come back. So, as an industry, it's our responsibility to ensure that the ecosystem does not encounter any such issues. And I would like to say that, there are two aspects to it. One is the consumer side of it, is the network or the bank side of it. On the consumer side, obviously, what is relevant and what is important is education, awareness, and constant messaging to tell them about the best practices like don't share your password, never reveal your OTP, so on and so forth. That hygiene part of it. On the players or the ecosystem entities that are there, I think the critical thing is like doing your basics right, like PCI DSS. Leveraging the power of data or the artificial intelligence led sort of solutions that we provide, like advanced authorization, Visa Risk Manager, which scans and screens each transaction in flight within microseconds and then gives a score, so that that this is not a fraudulent transaction. More so at an industry level, I would say things like, just a couple of months back, we launched the Nepal security roadmap, which is basically we understand and realize that security is not a now and done thing, right? It's a continuum. So we along with our partners, along with the Rashtra Bank, we devised a roadmap for the next 3 years. And what we aligned on was that, okay, what are the things that we need to take one step at a time to arrive or to achieve that vision of a secure digital payments ecosystem in Nepal. I think it's very pertinent here to mention that an area like security and risk is a non-compete area, and all networks, all entities participating in this space should come together. I think Nepal Bankers Association and CICN, these guys are doing a bunch of stuff in terms of promoting that secure payments mindset. It's a collective responsibility. All of us are invested in that. And we need to ensure that we come together, at least in these areas, to ensure that the ecosystem remains secure for it to grow and flourish.
Reena ji, over to you. What do you do, or what do you look at? What steps are you taking? I guess taking off your hat from your single institution, but looking at maybe through the lens of NBA, right? What are some of the proactive steps that are being taken through our own ecosystem to match the requirements of international standards and payment partners like Visa and NPCI? Can you just enlighten us a little bit?
So in 2016, all players of the card industry in Nepal got together and formed the Card Industry Council of Nepal under the umbrella of NBA. So this industry, this council today has 18, 19 member banks who are partnering with the council, working together, fostering payment industry, sharing the best practices in the industry, and Also, we are taking steps whereby we are organizing classes for our law enforcement, the Nepal police, to understand what is the level of fraud in this industry, when it happens and how to handle it. So while there is no silver bullet to counter this in the entirety, however, we are working a lot behind the scenes. PCI DSS, PIN audit security, all these are steps that we do to secure the entire payment industry. But in the forefront, we have come together, the entire players of the industry has come together and formed this council, where we work closely with the NRB's Payment Systems Department on terms and rules and regulations related to the industry, and also with other partners who are involved, for example, the Nepal police.
No, thank you. And you know, this gives me, again, it gives me a lot of hope and confidence in the way the ecosystem is evolving, because what I hear from all of you is a level of collaboration that's happening across borders, across ecosystems, that's really required in order to secure robustly secure the payments landscape across borders and within Nepal. So it's very encouraging to hear this, because you know, it's not an easy task to do, to herd cows, so to speak. But it's very encouraging to hear from all three of you that concrete steps are being taken, that security is a priority and a concern, and that the process of education, the process of basically exchanging ideas and learning is happening in real time. I'd really like to take a leap forward now and discuss a little bit about the future. One question to all of you, right? So let's look into a crystal ball 5 years from now, okay? Describe for the audience, right, where your business is in Nepal. What will you have accomplished? What will the ecosystem look like vis-a-vis the baseline it is today? So starting with Reena ji, maybe you can give us some words of hope, something to look forward to.
So I feel that there is a need to have a robust and transparent market research methodology conducted in the country, foremost, to understand what is the demand of the country. It is specifically for Nepal. What we want today is a multi-functioning product, be it in any channel. It could be QR, it could be a multi-currency card. We want our customers to walk around the globe with just one product. This has to be a global product for a Nepali citizen to walk around, travel, for education, for medical reasons, for XYZ reason, across the globe. So for us, the strategy should be that we need, for this market, we need something which is interoperable, which is an open loop product. That's what I feel is the demand of the hour.
Thank you. And I guess, you know, 5 years from now, if we can achieve that, that is really realizing the holy grail in terms of payment standards and interoperability for, you know, a citizen from this country to be able to travel the globe with one device and just seamlessly pay their way through all different sorts of needs. That's a really amazing future to aspire to. Soumya, over to you. What do you see? Is that possible, you think, over the next 5 years? Is a solution set that Mrs. Chand just described within reach for an ecosystem like Nepal?
Oh, absolutely. And I firmly believe that we are in good shape to go there. So one area would be new flows. When I mean new flows, I mean things like, you know, small merchant payments. Today, we do not see too many small merchants accepting digital payments. How can we enable that? That's critical. Another new flow could be business to business payments, or government to citizen payments, or you know, those sort of payments which today not necessarily happen in a fully seamless digital manner. So that's definitely one big area where I see a lot of change happening over the next 3 to 5 years. Number two would be new players. What I mean new players, I'm talking about these non-traditional entities. So all along we have seen that banks take the lead in driving digital payments. In the future, I believe fintechs and other tech players, and even telcos for that matter, have a huge role to play in transforming digital payments in Nepal. And we are seeing live examples in markets in the region. Bangladesh, for instance, is one of a global success stories in terms of mobile financial services. You talk about Africa, you hear the same. So I firmly believe that these new age players, tech players, disruptive fintechs will play a huge role going forward. And last but not the least, the another thing that we should keep in mind is that we need to remain flexible. When I say we, I mean as an industry. So as a network, let me talk about Visa. So we want to make sure that new players can come and join that highway in a very easy and seamless manner. On case in point, we have enabled various APIs that these fintechs can consume and connect to us, right? So similarly, others and banks who form, a core piece of this whole puzzle also should enable easy onboarding and collaborative sort of frameworks for working with these fintechs. At the same time, things like regulations and policies play a very important role. So the government should also look at it. The central bank should also be very, we keep hearing about these fintech sandboxes, regulatory sandbox, where fintechs can test and learn and try out different use cases. So yes, overall, I think that side of the story should also be a little more flexible, a little more nimble, and a little more accommodative to adapt to these new payment flows and payment entities.
Thank you, Soumya. And in some sense, looking at the state of development of this ecosystem today, envisioning that future may be a little bit challenging right now. But when it comes to digitization, I think the one lesson that we can all universally agree on is that it's not linear, right? These things happen in steps and bounds and in exponential ways. So thanks for giving us that sort of view of the possibilities of what this ecosystem could be in 5 years from now, Soumya. And last but not least, Ritesh, the dream that Reena ji and Soumya just concocted for us, I think lies at the heart of what NPCI and the India Stack is all about, right? This whole seamless experience, the ability to move across boundaries, not have to worry about carrying multiple instruments, multiple cards, multiple currencies, so on and so forth, right? Tell us, do you see that as a possibility for Nepal in the next 5 years? And what do you think the collaboration with NPCI will do in helping realize that future?
So absolutely. I mean, as I said earlier, Nepal is a young country, and the youngsters, the millennials, are the early adapters of the technology. So that's a good sign. Then I also did some desktop-based research, and I realized that there are 40 million active mobile subscribers in Nepal. So you have a very well-connected population. So you have the young population, you have connected population, so you have the intent and you have the means. Now, since you have these two founding things in place, it's anything is possible. And my fellow panelists talked about interoperable new flows. You talked about simplicity. I think our solutions are truly built on this. That's the basic of our solution. I think these are all things that are very much possible. In our experience, we have actually done it. I think in 3 years, we have literally transformed and put UPI on global map. I remember last year, Google actually wrote to Fed in US saying that they should simply replicate India model for United States. And that's something that we're very proud of. We've created something which not even the developed countries have. And it can be very quickly deployed. As I earlier said, at the cost of repeating myself, we'll be happy to share technology, the learnings with National Rashtra Bank through Reserve Bank of India. And finally repeating again, profit is not our motive. We genuinely believe in digital good. So I see a very bright future in terms of collaboration between the two countries and actually transforming the whole landscape.
Thank you for that very encouraging picture, Ritesh. We are now coming to the conclusion of our panel session. And look, unless there's anything either of you would like to say in terms of parting words, I'd be happy to kind of conclude our session. So any last final parting thoughts from either of you? Reena ji?
Here I would like to share one initiative that our government had taken last year to encourage digital payments. So the government of Nepal had announced 10% cashback on 13% VAT for all electronic digital transaction. So we request and we expect such initiative from the government side also to encourage digital payments in the country. The way forward is all stakeholders have to have their share if we want to see this go faster.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more. And when it comes to the stakeholder group, just really quickly, not for this segment, but perhaps for a discussion in future, one of the large stakeholders in this ecosystem that remain to be engaged in this particular discussion is the donor community. And we can get to that perhaps in another session. But any parting words from you, Soumya, in conclusion?
I think one of the key areas that I believe is that there should be a very collaborative mindset, which I said earlier. And I'm not just talking about networks like Visa collaborating with banks, but even as an industry or as a payments ecosystem, there are a lot of areas which as an industry we can do to grow acceptance, because you can keep issuing credentials, but if there are not enough points to pay, people will ultimately not enjoy that whole digital payment experience. So bunch of stuff happening around the region. We have the best practices, we have had our learnings, and we firmly believe that there's enough opportunity to customize those learnings and embed them in the Nepal digital economy, support e-commerce growth, because that's definitely a future, because with the kind of mobile penetration that Nepal has, that's one area sure to, it's kind of a guarantee that it'll boom in the coming days. So yes, I think we are at a good space, and there's enough to do. There's a lot to do, and enough opportunity for everyone to participate. So it's more than competition. It's, I think, how to enable the overall system to grow.
Thank you so much. So it's almost like co-opetition, right? And as long as there's affinity and propensity to learn, what I heard from your parting comments was that there's no need to recreate the wheel. Let's just have an open mind and absorb the knowledge and the experience base that others have had in other ecosystems, localize that knowledge, and make it real for this ecosystem in Nepal. Final parting words from you, Ritesh?
I'm very happy to be given a chance to talk about the products and solutions that we have built to kind of share the journey for my organization and what future is looking up ahead. I can only hope and wish and share my best wishes with you and Nepal as a country, and I'm sure in future country will grow from strength to strength and kind of transform. And my best wishes to the country, and we are always here to collaborate, to share our ideas, and always we'll be happy to help in the creation of newer solutions and driving scale. So very, very excited and looking forward to the future.
Thank you so much, Ritesh. And I don't think I could have summarized that better. Again, one more time, on behalf of the sponsors, the organizers, PhonePe, and myself, really heartfelt words of gratitude for all of you for spending your time with us this morning and for sharing your knowledge. And we look forward to working with each and every one of you in this ecosystem and helping this ecosystem become realize really the full potential it can as Nepal enters the digital economy. Thank you very much for your time.
PhonePe Digital Economy Conclave, powered by NCell, endorsed by Nepal Rashtra Bank, associated partner Rashtriya Banijya Bank Limited, supported by Nepal Telecommunication Authority, NIBL Bank, knowledge partner Society of Economic Journalists Nepal, Sejong, a brand worth event exclusively on AP1 television, simultaneously webcasted on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, November 28th, 2020.